Hey everyone! I got a new little toy for my car, a little phone holder. My last video I did from my truck, it kind of made me realize, like, wow, what a great use of time. And I drive pretty far to work, like a little over 45 minutes. So I was like, why not try to do some of these videos like while I'm driving home? Now, I'm a little disappointed in this little phone holder because it was advertised as like universal, of course, but it's not really totally universal because if you can see my phone right now, it's like barely hooked in there, which is why it's a little like lopsided. But I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess. Although I wholeheartedly expect that it could just fall out of this little holder at any minute, so don't mind a big crash sound if that happens. I wanted to just chat a little bit about forming habits. So I say this for two reasons. So I have kind of made a pact with myself that I need to get myself in better shape before next barrel racing season. I always put like so much on my horses, and I expect them to be in great shape, and I expect them to work out all the time, and then I really didn't prioritize my own athleticism last year. I just was so busy with work. I really let it go by the wayside, and I didn't work out. I didn't eat right. I didn't make that a priority. And as you know from my other rants, and about the One Thing book and stuff like that, you got to make stuff a priority, and if you don't, then you're just not gonna get very far with it. So I didn't make it a priority, and going into the winter time, I really decided that I'm gonna make this a priority now. I usually give my horses off during the winter time just because it's too cold to really ride that much anyway, and I think it's nice to give them a break and give myself a break and just give us all a break and kind of have an off season, so to speak. So during that time I figured, all right, well, I'm not going to be riding them as much anymore. Maybe this is a great time to kind of focus on getting my own self back in shape. So I've been doing that starting I guess about a month or a month and a half ago. I started getting up before work to work out. Now I have to be at work at 7 a.m. and I drive almost an hour to work, so I have to leave my house a little bit before 6. So to work out, I have to be up at 4:15 in the morning. And I am not a morning person. I've been doing this job now for over 15 years, and I have to be up early for my job, and people always say, oh, you get used to it. No, I'm just not a morning person. My natural circadian rhythm is just not to be up that early. I'm very much a night owl, and no matter how much I try to train my body otherwise, it's just not naturally what it wants to do. So anyway, getting up early for me is still very painful, even after all these years of having to do it, 4 to 5 days a week or whatever. So anyway, this was going to be kind of a big deal, a big task to tackle, but I knew if I didn't work out before work, I would never do it after work. I'm just so exhausted, and I have to go to the barn after I get home and do everything with the horses. By the time I get home at night, a lot of nights it's 7 or 8 o'clock, sometimes even later. So it's just it just wasn't gonna happen. You're so exhausted. I would be so exhausted by the end of the day. You're just worn out. So I made a pact with myself. We're gonna start doing this. Not every single day, but I kind of made the pact to try to do it 3 days a week, in the morning before work, and then on one day off or something like that. So this was super hard as expected, and it's still hard, but I'm starting to find now that it's becoming a habit, and I'm starting to find now that I kind of crave it a little bit. If I skip a day for whatever reason, like I feel kind of crappy the entire rest of the day. And so even though I still hate getting up in the morning that early, it's become a lot easier, because when my alarm clock goes off, I know it's like, all right, just get out of bed, because like, you know, you're going to regret it all day if you don't do this. Like, this is just a part of the routine now. And I believe it's that One Thing book that I reference on here all the time, that they talk about this. They talk about people who are really determined or really structured, and people always say like, oh, it's because they're so motivated. And what they talk about in the book, which I really am kind of starting to believe more and more, is it's not really that people like that are so motivated. It's just that they, sorry. But it's not really that, I mean, they are dedicated and they are motivated, but I think it's more that they just have ingrained different routines and have ingrained habits. It takes a long time to make something a habit, but once it's a habit, then it's a habit, it's a pattern. And we can have bad patterns in our life, like if you get used to eating a bowl of ice cream every night before you go to bed, you kind of crave that every night before you go to bed. Like, that might be an example of a bad pattern, depending on how you want to look at it. But you can have good patterns too. So if you get in the groove of doing something, it becomes a lot easier to do it. Like, it's a snowball effect. Like, you got to get over the initial hump. You got to get over the initial feelings of uneasiness and feeling like you just want to throw in the towel. But once you get past that hump, and once you just ingrain it as a true habit, like, then it's just part of your routine. It becomes so much easier. And I know that this is very like elementary and kind of common sense, and I'm sure everybody knows this already, so I'm not trying to share anything super profound with you. I guess I'm just putting this out there because if you haven't thought about it in a while, I want you to think about that. And if there's something that you've been maybe wanting to do but not really feeling like you're successfully sinking your teeth into it, or maybe something that you wanted to accomplish but you're really struggling with it, like, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't try to like go crazy changing your whole world and flipping it upside down. Just pick one small thing to ingrain as a habit, a new habit, and see how it feels. My mom's New Year's resolution was to declutter her life a little bit, declutter her house being one of the things. So I visited with them around the holidays, and so I was there for a couple of days after New Year's, and the couple days I was there, donated to Goodwill or whatever is a better way to say it, but she took one thing from the house and got rid of it, essentially. And I was thinking, like, yeah, that's perfect. Like, if you have a New Year's resolution, or you have like something that you want to tackle or accomplish, like, don't make a mountain out of it right from the beginning. If it's overwhelming to you, just make a pact with yourself that, like, hey, I'm going to ingrain this new habit. I'm going to just take one thing a day and give it to Salvation Army, or whatever the case may be. Or like in my situation, I'm just going to get up and do like one 30-minute workout before work 3 days a week. Like, that's it. I'm not, you don't have to go crazy. Just start little by little ingraining different habits into your life. And once that little habit becomes your new routine, your new normal, then you can put another little new habit on top of it. And if you do that continually over the year, by the end of the year, like, who knows what you could have accomplished, or who knows what your new normal, quote unquote, day can look like. So think about that a little bit. It's January, it's New Year's. Like, I'm a big fan of using the new year to have a come to Jesus moment with yourself, if you will, about what you want to do different the next year, what you want to work on, what you want to accomplish, what you want to prioritize, and take a little bit of time to dream big, if you will. Like, you want to set realistic goals, but you want to dream really big. Dream really big, and then whittle down your big dreams into small, achievable goals that you can accomplish, and then just take those goals step by step. So I love getting that feeling of like, hey, it's a fresh new year. You can start over and kind of create your own destiny and, tackle whatever it is that you want to tackle. So if you haven't done that for yourself already this year, I challenge you to do that. Take some time to just be with your thoughts. Write down your big dreams, your small achievable goals, your pathway to get to your big dreams, what you're going to do like in the next immediate months to get there. Really challenge yourself to think about your life and think about what you like, what you don't like, and how you want to transform yourself over the next year, and put it on paper, because there's definitely some realistic something to the art of just putting it on paper and visualizing it and speaking it out into the world. It makes it more real. And then I think the other cool thing is you get to go back like at a later date and see what you've accomplished and see what you can check off. So I think that's really cool, because that's really motivating. Like, if you had 5 goals written down from last year and you slayed them all, it's going to make you a lot more motivated this year to make new, bigger goals and have new, bigger dreams. So write your stuff down, and then as you're figuring out, how do I get to where I want to go, if you're struggling to figure that out, or if you're struggling to ingrain the new things that you need to do to accomplish that, just focus on like one little new habit at a time, ingraining one new habit at a time, one new thing into your routine, and get that to become your new normal, and then figure out what's your next thing you're going to accomplish. I hope that rambling made a little bit of sense. This is the problem with doing these videos when you're driving. Like, I may not make as much sense because you got to be focused on the road. So my thoughts might be a little more rambly than otherwise, but hopefully you get the gist. Remember that familiar is always preferred to the human brain. The brain likes what is familiar. It likes what it knows. It likes patterns that it can recognize. This is why people will be in bad situations and have a hard time getting themselves out of them, or they'll be in a bad situation and then may get out of it and put themselves right back into another bad situation that's very similar. It's because when things become normal, quote unquote normal to the brain, because it's a pattern that it recognizes, it's really not the path of least resistance for the brain to want to do something different than that. It likes familiar patterns. So that, I think, is why it's so hard to ingrain new normals for us, and sometimes why it's really hard to break old habits. But if you can do it, if you can just break that habit and ingrain a new one, then the brain will stick on that, and it'll become so much easier to stick with it over time. Okay, have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.